Good evening, this is Rob from GRAF, and this week we're going to continue talking about dairy farming. Last week we talked about lameness, and we discussed one of the issues is when you're housing your cows, making sure they're comfortable and are able to lie down and rest. So let's fire up the PowerPoint and we'll get going. So this week I've titled the talk Resting. Resting is crucial for the dairy cow. Dairy cows need to lie down for about 14 hours a day to allow them to rest and recuperate. Just for clarification, if you discover your cow lying down, like this one here on the left, upside down, then that's not a good sign. That usually means the cow's dead, and that's obviously not what you want. The photograph on the right is much better. It shows a cow lying down out in a grass field, and the sun's shining and there's buttercups, and that's beautiful. So why does a cow need to lie down and rest? First of all, cows rest when they're lying down. So they need a comfortable place to sit down and lie. Often they'll sit with their head turned slightly to the side at an angle, and this is the perfect position for them to regurgitate their feed and cud the feed and start and digest it. It also gives them a chance to rest their feet. If you remember, we talked about how much weight there is on each cow's feet. They may have 4 legs and 4 feet, but they've got a very small surface area for the weight they carry and can end up with very high pressures on the feet. It also gives the feet a chance to dry off. If they've been standing inside and standing in urine and slurry, you can end up with lameness issues, which we discussed last week. And the other key thing, probably the most important thing, is blood flow. You get increased blood flow by 30% to the udder when the cow's lying down. And of course, the udder is where the milk is produced, which is your primary aim of dairy farming. So increased blood flow ensures high production of high quality milk and a healthy udder. Mainly, we're going to be talking about cubicles, but there are other methods of housing cows. Open barns are traditionally the way of doing it, bedded in straw, deep straw. Cows love this, really comfortable, really nice surface to be lying down on, easy to get up and down, good traction. One downside of deep straw barns is mastitis. It can be a real problem as you get bacterial growth in the straw, because straw is, of course, organic material and promotes organic growth. You can end up with high bacterial levels and mastitis problems. Another small issue can be cows standing on teats and udders of their neighbours, causing injury, and you can potentially lose a quarter. A more modern method of open barn housing is called the compost bedded pack barn. It looks very similar. However, the difference is the management and what you're trying to promote. And the key is you're trying to promote composting of the material. So you go through with some sort of cultivation machinery and harrow it at least twice a day. That promotes aerobic bacteria and promotes composting. You get very high temperatures beneath the surface of 70 and 80 degrees centigrade, and that helps sanitize and kill bacteria. Again, really nice surface for the cows to lie on, very comfortable. Slightly easier to see where they're putting their feet, and slightly more comfortable to be walking around. But as I said, we're going to be mainly talking about cubicles. The first key thing is when you construct the cubicles, to size it to a cow. There's a first picture here as of a nice Jersey herd. Jerseys are obviously much smaller cows, so it's crucial that you build your cubicle to fit the size of cow you have. Secondly, length, and that's the key measurement. The cow needs to fit the cubicle so that its rear end is hanging over the dunging passage. So when it defecates, that is well away from the cubicle bed and allows good hygiene. You can see in this third picture, incorrect size I've put. There is only a tiny number of cows lying down here. There's quite a few standing half in and half out of the cubicle, and the rest are all standing. But of course, the cows are at the feed fence. They've obviously just been given some fresh feed, and that's why most of the cows are standing. And I would say probably those ones that are half in and half out of the cubicle are simply making their way to the feed fence to get some fresh feed. Here's the ideal picture you want in the final photo. 90% of the cows are lying down. That means the cubicles are comfortable. And yeah, I think we can only see one cow still standing up, which is normal. She's gone for a drink, she's gone for some feed, some exercise. So Why is the length key, and also the position of the brisket board and the headrail? Well, if you remember, the weight distribution of the cow, the majority of the weight is on the front of the cow. And if you watch a cow standing up, first she'll get on her front knees, then she'll use her weight of her head to swing forward and get her back legs off the ground. And finally, she'll rise to her front feet from her knees. If the brisket board, shown as green plastic in the second photo, is too far back, when the cow is lying down, she'll thump into that with a brisket and it'll be uncomfortable. She'll be reluctant to get up and lie down so much. As you can see, this photograph has a movable headrail. That's to make it easy for the cow to lie down, and also, more importantly, get back up again. And it needs to be easy for the cow to get up and down, so she's able to get up and down as much as she wants, go and get water, and go and get feed. Cubicle hygiene, they don't manage themselves. You still need to look after them. The key area is at the rear where the cow's udder is, and you need to keep that clean and dry and freshly bedded. The dryness is key because moisture and organic matter promote bacterial growth, and there's where your risk of mastitis comes from. The cubicle bed can be made in many ways. You can pour concrete and then have rubber mats or water beds. You can deep bed in straw or sand. Sand is a fantastic material because, of course, it's inert. It doesn't promote bacterial growth. It's not organic. It is an incredibly comfortable surface for the cow, provides good grip and traction for getting up and down. And also some of the sand gets knocked into the dunging passage, and the sand there provides good traction, stops slipping. Of course, the downside of sand is wear and tear on your mechanical machinery, the machinery you're using to handle your wastewater and the manure. Sand and mechanical implements don't go well together. So what are the key facts about cubicles? They're a really good way to house cows if they are constructed properly, designed properly, and well managed, but they do have a high capital cost. Next week, we'll maybe give a talk on this new method of open barn. That's the compost padded pack barn. Quite an interesting technique for housing cows, and we'll cover that next week. Any questions or comments, just post below or drop me a private message. Thanks for now.